An example of what you're missing and fixating on reality. So in my last entry, I shared one of my personal investigations into what science calls pseudoscience. Mine is an ongoing investigation I began as far back as I can remember, which has me strongly disputing science's opinion on the matter. In this entry, I take you deeper into my personal journey. After the test I described in my last entry, I was in despair at the loss of my religious foundation. I sat in meditation the following night, pleading for some kind of indication or evidence or proof of something greater than physical reality, so that I knew I wasn't crazy. Crying to myself throughout the night, I felt the physical tension between feelings of knowing and thoughts of skepticism about what I was doing. Then, that night, that tension boiled over. The aftermath was astonishing. It was 2 a.m. I sat staring at a candle flame, focusing while intending, asking, pleading for some kind of real evidence that this physical realm existed. It seemed like I was there all night, and then all thinking stopped. My sorrow vanished, as did all negative feelings. A brilliant white light blotted out all sense awareness, and in that absence of my awareness, I felt my personal awareness, awareness of me, expand into a timeless, spaceless, no space. It is 100% accurate that this presence defied all description, so I won't try to describe it, but I can tell you how it felt. It was both terrifying in its magnificence and overpowering in its all-encompassing presence. I knew I was that presence, and that presence was simultaneously far greater than me. The loss of physical sense perception frankly scared the shit out of me. The loss of all conscious thought, reasoning processes, and loss of connection to physical reality, however brief, was frightening, as I thought I had lost my mind. Then, as quickly as it happened, it was gone. I came out of that experience and looked at the clock. It was 4 a.m. That experience lasted what I think was a split second. Somewhere in those 2 hours, it happened, but I couldn't tell you when. That experience has stayed with me until this day. Little did I know, far more demonstrations, far more evidence was heading my way. You see, once you open the door to non-physical, more and more keeps coming through. The evidence for me is overwhelming. For example, many years later, as I descended the downward spiral of releasing attachment to conventional thinking that is progression in esoteric martial arts, I began developing seemingly supernatural abilities. I could tell ahead of time what my opponent was going to do and be in that space where he would be before he got there. I could feel people's intention, often before they knew what they were feeling, and then use their unconscious intention to capture them. My abilities resembled the seeming superhuman skills martial arts heroes in movies had. My instructor, who I met through an uncanny series of events, and is yet another fascinating story, was even more magical in his abilities. In our sessions, he would talk about the non-physical realm and how divine warriors moved from inspiration gained from the non-physical realm. In our art, we call it the mind and eyes of God, or the Maruichi. I know that sounds crazy, right? I would agree, but I've seen it put into action, and I've put it into action myself. Understanding and then putting into practice these words makes room for remarkable capabilities, and also gives one rare insight into the realm of all that is. You truly begin to see through the mind and eyes of God. The insights I've gained through these practices, meditation, martial arts, and more, have all dovetailed so perfectly, leading to tangible outcomes I've repeated over and over in my life. I've become convinced in the existence of what people who believe in the primacy of science claim does not exist. And more evidence continues to mount. Next up, a dive into my long-term practice with the ancient botanical brew, ayahuasca. I'm Perry Gruber, founder of Copiosis.